Good morning, everybody. This is another series of videos where I'm going to cover navigations and storyboard. In previous examples, we did either a single view and we talked about a tab view. But there's other ways that you can navigate between scenes. And one of them is that you can create a main screen and then you just connect these buttons that take you from one screen to another. So in this video, this first video, we're going to do that. In the second video, we'll talk about navigation controller. So what we have here, we have a main screen. In that main screen, we have a couple buttons. In this button, when you click on it, it will take you to this one, and then this one take you to this one. We have a text field, and the purpose of this text field to show you how we pass information from one screen to another screen. Now, this text field, it doesn't have to be a text field when you pass information. It could be a class, it could be an object, it could be an object, it could be many things, not just a simple text field or text string value. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. I created a navigation, I created an app called with a single view, and I dragged two view controllers. Here is a view controller and another view controller. I added a label called scene 1, and I added a label here called scene 1, scene 2. I added a button. These things don't do anything yet, okay? And in the main view controller, I have a text field, a button, and a button. Again, they didn't do anything yet, okay? So we're gonna make them do something. Notice I have also the titles here. It says scene 1, scene 2. You can do that by looking at the property of a view controller, and then you can give it a title. So it's easy to recognize scene 1, scene 2. Okay, so this one is scene 2. So you can assign titles to these view controllers. Same thing in here, okay? All right, let's go ahead and start. We have a view controller that came with the application, and in this view controller, there's nothing except an action, IB action that hides the keyboard, okay? And I have an IB outlet to the text field. We've done these before, so you should be familiar with it, okay? The IB action is associated with the view itself, all right? So now we go to the storyboard, and the way you can connect, you go from one screen to another, you just simply right-click here on this, and then you get different options. One of the options here you have called touch up inside, touch up outside, value change, and there are a lot of options here. These are events because it's a button. The basic one that we use is the touch up inside, okay? So when you click on it, basically, touch that button, it will take you to this view controller, okay? It hasn't done that, but let's do it this way. It's not right in it, but let's do it this way. Right click and drag on this. So right click and drag, and it will take you, it'll give you this pop-up here and tell you, what do you want? You want to say, you want to push, modal, and custom. The push is used mainly when you have a navigation controller. Okay, we don't have a navigation controller, so we use modal. The custom is used when you want to design your own transitions. Okay, there are default transition that comes with this, but if you want to make your own transitions, then you can use a custom action, and that way you have to provide the class that is responsible of pushing that scene. But again, we're going to use this one for now. Okay, so now I have a connection from here to here, and then I do the same thing here, right click from here to here, and I say modal. All right. Now, if you run it now, it works, but it doesn't give you any way coming back, okay? So it takes you from this screen to this screen, and from this screen to this screen, and it doesn't let you know, it doesn't let you go back, okay? In the next video, I'll show you when we use a navigation controller, it'll be a lot easier. But watch what happens now if I run it. You got this is my class. It take me here, fine. But done doesn't take you back, okay? So we're gonna do that next. How we do this? when I say done, it takes me back to this screen. Well, there is something called Unwind Segue. Okay, that means what? It means when I click on this, I unwind, I go back to the previous one that I came from. Okay, this is for the modal. With the push, with the navigation controller, you already have a button up here and it takes you back. So how do we unwind this scene, segue, and it takes me back to here? Okay, well, to do this, you need to have in the view controller that you came from, you have to have a method or a function that get called when you come back from here. Okay, so in the main view controller, we will have here a method. I already have it here commented out, so I'm gonna uncomment it. It's nothing different than this. You notice IB action function hide keyboard. It's the same. IB action function, I called it return back. And I have a sender, but the type that you receive is a class of UI Storyboard Segue. Okay, why do you do this? Now, because you can determine like which view controller you came from, which screen or which segue being triggered back. Okay, so now I'm going to comment this out first, and then we'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, so now what happens when I unwind, I basically call this method, this function. So we go back to here and notice what's going to happen. Now, this is my method. This is the button that I want to come back from. Notice when I right click, you have this thing called exit. What I do is that I right click and drag to this. Okay. Now it will give me which method you want to call. This method is the method that was in the parent view controller, okay, that I came from. So here, all right, and I can do the same thing here. And I say, okay, I want to right click and drag here and say what I want to call back the return back, okay? So now if I run it, it will work. It will say, okay, fine, scene 1, done, it take you back. Scene 2, done, take you back, all right? Okay, good, but this is not what this is almost what we want. All right, sometimes you want to know which scene you came from. Okay, like say maybe I want to get values from this view controller. Maybe I wanted to get value from this view controller. In the past, you used to have what we call a protocol and a delegate. So you'll have a protocol here and then a delegate, and then you call a method in that delegate, okay, and say, I'm calling a method in this class, okay? Well, in this way, you don't have to do that. You just simply call that method, which is returned from segue. All right, these things that we did, that exit segue, they actually have in scene that we have 2 scenes, right? And then this is the main storyboard. So if you look at the components here, if you look at scene 1, it added this unwind segue for us. This is just a segue, and you can give it an ID. So if I say scene 1, okay, and then I can here add one called, this is second one here, I can do the same thing and give it scene 2. Okay, so now what happened? What happened is that when you get called back, this is that view controller, this segue, this object sender actually have the ID that, not just the ID that was fired back. So I'm gonna show you how to do this. So if I say print line returned from sender, which is this, the identifier, which is the value that I just gave to each one of those segues. So if I run it, look what's going to happen here. You click on, hide the keyboard. If you click on this, done, returned from scene 1. Go this, done, returned from scene 2. So now I have a way of knowing where I came from. Type, okay, what if I want to get some values from this view controller, or from this? We don't have view controllers right now, but we'll create one here in a minute. What if I want to get values from this view controller? Okay, what do you do? Well, what you can do, you can actually, depending on this identifier, you can have, like, for example, if statement. If you say, for example, sender dot identifier equal scene1. Okay, what do? You can get, for example, just to show you what you can do with this, and then you can, if you have multiple, you will have to say else if, and then you can do whatever you want with these. But what you can do here, you can say let v equal sender. Then there's something called the original, no, that's, what is that? View controller. Okay, I sender that. There's actually a view controller that the start view controller, source of view controller. Here you go. So what does do, source view controller, and then you can cast it as whatever view controller you want. So what this does is actually get you the view controller that you came from, and then if you have any values in that view controller, you can retrieve it. If you want to get any information from that view controller, you can retrieve it by doing so. Okay, so if the class name was view controller, let's say, because I already have a class, now I can say let's say v dot whatever properties are available for me, I can get it from here. Okay. All right. We're not going to do anything with this. We leave it this way, but maybe in the future videos we'll use it. Okay. So that is how we get values from the return from the unwinding segues. So first you can use the identifier. Second way, you can do you can check with this which identifier you've used, and based on that, you can get the source of view controller, and if you need any information from that source view controller, you get it from here. Okay. All right. Now this is coming back. Now, when we go forward, if we go back to the storyboard, how do I get information from here to this and from here to this? Okay. Well, let's add a label here first. I'm just going to copy this and Command V, and I'm going to call it from label. Okay. Let's say call it name. Okay. Okay, which comes from here. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to show you how we do that. Command copy. And then here, let's take this one here, Command copy, and then Command V. Now, I could have done it in one view controller, but I want to show you how you can have, if you have multiple view controller, how would you do it? Okay, and then this is name. Okay. All right. These two view controllers don't have classes. So we have to create classes and associate these view controllers, custom classes, associate them with these two view controllers. So we need to go in here, File, New, and then I'm going to select a Cocoa Touch. This is going to be UI view controller, and then I'm going to call it Scene 1 view controller. Okay. All right, and then you click on Next. All right, create. And we're going to do the same thing for the other one. Right click, new file. Again, same thing, view controller. I'm going to do Scene 2 view controller. Okay, and then we click on Next. All right. Now, what's happening here? We have the two view controller, but we need to go to the storyboard, is that we need to associate each one of those with the right class. So I go to the identity inspector, select the view controller. Now I have Scene 1 view controller, and I have here Scene 2 view controller. Okay. All right. let's go to scene 1 first. In scene 1, I'm going to create two things. First, I'm going to create a property, which I'm going to call it var name, which comes from the other one, and I'm going to make it equal to string, and I'm going to initialize it to blank. Okay. If you don't initialize this, then you'll have to provide an init method to initialize any properties in your class. Then we do the same thing in here. You can say var name, and I'm going to call it string, and I'm going to have another property var secret. I'm going to make it again string and both equal to blank. Okay. All right. So we go back to the main storyboard now, and we want to add two things. First, we're going to do that connection, the outlet, the IB outlet. So you use the code editor for this. And from here, I want to connect. I already have that, right? Do this, and then we're going to call this LBL name. All right. Okay. And then we do the same thing with this other one. I have two now, LBL name. Okay, LBL name. Okay. And then I already have this, so this is my secret is going to be, so I'm going to do this, LBL name, LBL secret. Okay. All right, so we got my connections ready to go. All right. Now let's go back to the storyboard. This view controller, when you click on it, it fires this segue and it sends it to here. Same thing on this. When you click on this, it fires the segue and send it to here. So what do we need to do? We need, before we fire the segue, we need to do some preparation. And we call that prepareForSegue. So what we're going to do, there is in the view controller for that screen, we'll override a method. And then if you just type in prepareForSegue, you'll get this method. What does this do? This tells you that, okay, you're gonna fire a segue and you wanted to do something before you fire the action, before you complete the action. So you do some preparation beforehand. What do we do? Now, what you do, you need to check which view controller or which segue you're firing. And how do you do this? You give it names, just like we did earlier. So you can, in the property, you can give this a name. So if this is scene 1, okay, it doesn't have to be the same as the other one. So this is scene 1, and this is scene 2. So in the property, I give these segues. I give them ID. Okay, 2. Notice here, you have different presentations. So, for example, you can do, you can do presentation full screen, face sheet, from sheet. You can do transition too. So it's up to you how you want to do it. So you can select any of these. For example, page sheet, or the cover flip very horizontally. Or so the transition becomes flip horizontally. So if we take this one here and then we do transitions, cover vertically or cross dissolve, because it's already default. So that would be your transition. Okay. So now what we've done, we gave these IDs. This is an ID, and this is an ID. It has an ID. This is scene. We didn't give this an ID. We only give this one. Scene 1, why didn't we give this one? And this is scene 2. Okay. All right. So in my view controller, I use this ID to determine which view controller I'm going to. So I go in here In that prep segue that we just did, I'd say if segue, which is this here, right here, this variable, dot identifier equal scene 1. So what does this tell me? This tells me that I need to unwrap this, so I will have to put exclamation mark. What does this tell me? This tells me that I'm going to the scene 1. So before I go to scene 1, I want to get the value that I enter, and I want to assign it to the property that I have here. Again, this could be an object or a class. So I have property here called name, and I have I need to assign it to the value that comes from this view controller. So if we go back to view controller, and it's just a simple thing, we set let v equal segue. Here there's something called destination view controller, and I cast it as the one that I'm going to, which is what? Scene 1 view controller. Scene 1 view controller. Okay. Now notice if I say v dot name, I have a property called name, and I can say equal to the value that comes from this text field that we have an IP outlet here for this text field, which is txt name. So I say txt name dot name dot text, sorry. Okay. All right. Now you can do the same thing. You can say else, because I already have only 2 segues. I can do else and then do this, copy this, command copy, and then do control V. Instead of scene 1, we do C2. Okay, now I have also another property here, which is the secret. So if I say v dot, notice what's going to happen, v dot secret. I have a secret, and I'm going to say equal, you are great. Okay, that's the secret. All right, so now notice, based on the view controller you're going to, you can assign different properties for that view controller. We're almost there. There's one more thing that we have to do, which is you go in here, in the view.load, we need to assign those label, the value of those variable, of the variable that, the property that it was set in the previous class. So if I say lbl name dot text equal to name, okay? Where does this name come from? We assigned it in the other view controller. All right. Okay, the view did load. Remember, this is get loaded. This get called after the view is loaded. All right. So we do the same thing in here. We just do the same thing. LBL, I have 2 outlets here. LBL name dot text equal name, and then LBL dot secret. LBL.secret or LBL secret .text equal to the secret that we got from the other class. All right, that's it. So if we compile it and then let's run it, we'll see what happens. If I enter name here, ABC, click on scene. You can hide the keyboard by clicking here. Click on scene 1. That ABC came from the previous view controller. Done, right? If I click on this, oh, we got a problem here. We need to change this. I didn't notice, but we'll change it. If you click on this, it'll take you, notice how it did the transition. Here's the secret, you are great, and ABC, done. That's the transition that you got. Okay, here you see the dissolve over. That's how we did because we specified the dissolve. All right, so that is it. Let me just fix that storyboard here, and this should say scene 2 instead of scene 1. That's it. Just to summarize, if you have a view controller, in this view controller, you have a bunch of buttons that you can navigate to other screen. We use segues. in the segue to pass information from one screen to another, from the parent to the other, you use prepareForSegue. If you want to go back, we use Unwind Segue, and then we basically connect the button here, right click, connect it to the exit. You must have an IB action that get called going back. In that view controller, we called it return IB action. In this IB action, you can determine what segue you came from by using the segue identifier. And the way you set the segue identifier, you look at for example, this is scene 1. There's something called Unwind Segue. You give it an ID, and this is the action that you get called. You do the same thing with the other one. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how we do it using navigation controller. I'm going to copy this class, and then so we don't have to start from scratch. Okay, this project. All right, I'll see you on the next video.